Must be at least 18 years old. Promo code, location, and other restrictions apply. See terms of use for details. Please play responsibly. Call 800-426-2537 for help. Think you know sports? Then try to turn your sports knowledge into real money with the Sleeper app. The ultimate fantasy sports app that can turn game day into payday. With up to 100 times payout and your first deposit matched up to $500. Just download the Sleeper app and pick your favorite sports and players, like Christian McCaffrey's rushing yards. With more stats than any sports app, just choose 2 or more of your favorite players, from pregame, live, or even across different sports. Pick more or less from the predicted stats and ka-ching! You could win up to 100 times your money if your pick wins. With the Sleeper app, you can make picks anytime, even after the game starts, with up to 100 times payout. What are you waiting for? Download Sleeper today and unlock one of the fastest growing fantasy sports apps in the world. Just go to the App Store, download the Sleeper app today, and use code SPORTS for up to $500 match on your first deposit. That's promo code SPORTS.
The Sports Social Podcast Network is delighted to be supporting this year's Sports Podcast Awards, recognising the sporting podcasts that are top of their game. And now it's your turn to lend your support to your favourite sport podcasts. Voting is open now, which means you can get behind your favourite shows and show your appreciation for the hard graft they put in, keeping you entertained and informed on whatever sport it is you follow. There are 21 categories to vote in, including football, tennis, golf, rugby, and loads more. And voting is dead simple. Head to sportspodcastawards.com, vote now, and be part of the action.
The following is a snippet of an exclusive members-only podcast episode for our Patreon Chronicles Tifosi. Become a member at patreon.com/Serie A Chronicles for regular bonus episodes and content.
More or less every team's ultras of the 4 teams represented have had something to say about it, and I think only the Curva Nord, Inter's Curva Nord, said they're still going to travel. So we'll see if things are better for their semi-final tomorrow night in terms of just the attendance situation. But I really think that this is one of those situations where the people behind this idea, the marketing people, just didn't think things all the way through, to be absolutely honest with you. I think if you're going to make this decision, which is already a contentious decision to have it abroad, even though it has happened abroad enough times now that that's mostly been got over, another bold decision to expand the tournament and have more teams in it, I think you need to have been more realistic about what you're expecting and acknowledging that you aren't even able to guarantee you're going to bring your highest profile teams, because Milan and Juventus, 2 teams that undoubtedly would have been a bigger draw internationally, aren't present. And you need to ask yourselves what you think that's going to do in terms of impact. And you also need to ask yourself what the hosts are guaranteeing you in terms of impact. Now, I'm certain there's going to be a good amount of money being guaranteed, but I think when you see this as a spectacle, when the world sees it as a spectacle, the amount of money that you're making in the short term is not worth it, because what this message that you send when you're playing what's supposed to be a showpiece game in front of no fans is, frankly, that it's not a spectacle worth watching. I think that's something that Serie A has already struggled with domestically, stadiums that are in disrepair and not full as often as we'd like them to be. And I think actually it's one of the areas where there's been real progress in recent years. I think when you look at the top clubs in Serie A especially, there have been more fans in stands, there have been more full stadiums, some of that driven by individuals like Jose Mourinho, who of course we've talked about last week at length. Not last week, that was this week. Talked about that on the main show this week. Time is all gooey in my head at the moment. But it's also been down to a general collective sense, I think, of a lot of the big teams moving in the right direction after some extended periods of not always being as well run as they should be. So that there has been some momentum on this in the domestic game, and seeing the stark reality of this game being played in such an unappealing context, I think is damaging to the game. I think that the stuff around it is damaging to the game. Now, there's practical things that happened that I think are really significant. Walter Mazzarri finally going to the back 3, of course, was a back 3 that he thrived with the last time he was at Napoli. Seeing him go back to that and get a win immediately and a convincing win in the end, I think that's one of those moments you look at and think, well, this could be impactful for the season going forward. I think Giovanni Simeone scoring, certainly, given he's barely had the chance to start all season. He's had 3 starts all season. A reminder of that talent that came from Verona. I can't remember how he scored in Verona. It was something like 17 goals he scored in Verona that season. And he only started 1 game last season under Spalletti, but he was a regular feature. I think he had about 25 games off the bench last season, just in the league. So a sort of refresher on a player who could be important going forward. Also on Alessio Zerbin, a winger who I think probably is still going to disappear off to Frosinone, unfortunately. So his incredible cameo, and it was an incredible cameo. To recap for anyone who didn't see it, Zerbin, who has really been not much of a factor in the senior team for Napoli since coming through their youth system. He spent a lot of time out on loan. He was away at Frosinone a couple of seasons ago in Serie B, where I think really is there in Pro Vercelli the season before, the 2 places where he's really got a lot of game time. But this young Italian winger who has certainly shown some promise, had a call up to an Italy training camp under Roberto Mancini, but we haven't seen a lot from at Napoli. Comes off the bench in this game, scores the second goal with Napoli already winning 1-0, but the game in the balance in the second half, clatters into the post and receives treatment and appears to be really in not a good way, and then comes back into the game and scores a 3rd goal, which I have to admit, part of me does still think it's a wonderful story, and seeing him score that last goal is wonderful, but questions about concussion protocols and the safety of it, I know that's boring, I know no one wants to hear it, but we've talked a lot about head injuries and the long-term impact of those in sport in recent years, and could he possibly have not received some sort of concussion from that incident? It looked for a moment like he knocked himself out cold.
Head to SerieAchronicles.com/Patreon now and subscribe to the Chronicles Tifosi Patreon membership with a free 7-day trial. Get early access to every full-length episode and voice note before the rest of the world. Plus, all episodes are 100% ad-free. And you get bonus Patreon-only exclusive episodes, video episodes, and behind-the-scenes extras. Also, be sure to join the new chat community in the Patreon app and chat with fellow subscribers.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.